Let's go.
All right. Welcome to the good stuff. It's the big episode, episode 21.
The actual big episode 21
It's
finally hit the milestone.
the biggest yet. Yeah. It's a very, very special number, 21. But we'll
It's
go
the
from there.
important one. I
Mm.
mean, we've hit a decent block of content as well. I mean, what are we doing? Pushing out an hour and a half episode every week. So 21 episodes is pretty decent, man. Like, yeah,
It's a few hours. That must be like what,
wasn't
30 odd hours of something.
some, something like that. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't ever sure how far we'd get,
Hmm.
but the momentum's there now, unstoppable.
Well, if you can make it to 21, you can make it to 256. I think that's the,
Yes,
that's
I
the
think
next
that's the
next
next.
milestone.
Is there no like closer milestone? It's nice to have these like progressive
61,
milestones to hit.
maybe.
Yeah, we can go with that.
61 and a half.
We can go with that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we're in
yeah.
opposite sides of the world for this pod
Yeah,
as well, so it's
I'm
like
a little bit jet
unique.
lagged. I've got my coffee. I mean, a bit later for
Very
you,
good.
but
Very good. Yeah, it's almost dinner time. So
oh, dear.
it's yeah, I think it's the first pod where we've had a time zone to deal with. So
It's our first remote session as well, isn't it? Actually, we haven't done a video call podcast before. Although, I mean, obviously,
actually
to
that's true.
the
Yeah.
casual viewer, you'll see no difference as we appear to be just
At the
sat at the
beach.
same beach as always. But yeah, I'm
Hmm.
at a very different beach. There's no
Sat on the logs.
there's no white sand on the beaches where I am these days. So it's all
Well, you'll be
stones.
happy to know that I continued the tradition, went to the beach,
Hmm.
and had coffee, did all the usual things. Just didn't have a podcast to record in our
Just
usual time slot.
just no one to talk to. That's a shame.
But I was there. The habit was there. The weather was lovely. You missed out. It was delightful.
I mean, I'm good for weather where I am. It's uh,
I
it's all
thought
it's
that
all
might be
blue
the case. Yeah,
skies. It's all like
yeah,
high 20s. Just a little bit of humidity, but not too bad. It's okay. It's okay.
good, excellent. And we've covered weather talk for the first time in 21 episodes. So, what's been happening over there?
So I am across the world working on, I would say, vibe coding and freedom tech at the moment.
Nice
So it's
combination.
been,
Yep.
yeah, it's quite interesting. So there's a gathering of people, kind of like a bit of a work thing to come out here and spend some time learning the skills, sharpening the sword, all that sort of stuff. So, but
Yep.
it's been good. So I've been, I've got Wingman with me. He's plugged in. He's been hard at work. It's
Wingman
been
never
many,
sleeps. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's been plenty of opportunities from like wandering around, just coming up with ideas and then kicking off new sort of yeah, just sending projects in and just saying like, okay, we'll just go build me a version of this and have it ready for when I get home, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Getting it done. So been
No
inventing some
vacations
new,
for Wingman.
yeah, been inventing some new Nostotech. Well, I mean, this particular place where I am at the moment, like one of the agreements is every Friday you have to have brought, like built an entirely new thing that you can demo.
Hmm.
It's like, all right. So
Nice.
so I invented some new um, core Nostotech, I think, talking to one of the guys like on Saturday night. And so I think I'll have that up and ready in the first draft. Then we'll make it good afterwards. Like that'll be a version that I
That's the
can show.
way.
Yeah.
That's the way. I mean, speaking of demos,
Hmm.
I mean, we've had a couple of comments on the previous couple of videos about Wingman demos. So we see you in the comments. We should
Oh, have we?
probably
Oh, I
should
haven't
probably
seen
think about
anybody
some
in the
demos.
comments. I've been being somewhat out of
I'm paying
schedule at the
attention.
moment.
Don't worry.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so what sort of things are people asking for? Do a bit of
That's a
business on
very good
that.
question. I think just generally a demo, because I think one of your comments was along the lines of like, I can't believe how good this thing is. And so I think it's like, okay, we'll show us. Like, let's all see it.
Yeah,
So
it's
something like that could be. But you have
interesting.
actually put out some content on this stuff, like on Nostr and whatnot. So
Yeah, I mean, if you're not
there
following us
is.
on Noster, then you really are missing out. So that's the best place to find demos of this. But so,
Mm,
I mean, I did do a demo to the room yesterday. It was Wingman. So a quick run through, just showing like the concepts, how it all works, like the two different modes between planning and execution. Like I've,
yeah,
again, like I've been pulling it out and showing people like as we're wandering around as well down by the ocean, and they're like, "What? So you're like it's doing work for you?" And it's like, "Yep." You know what? One of the this feels like such a tiny thing, but it comes in so useful so often. Is that when you have all the work done on a remote computer, like your
mm,
own computer doesn't matter anymore. In the sense that like there's been several times like someone will come in and go, "All right, guys, we're going into the other room. We're going to go do this." And like, "All right, cool." And I just shut my laptop and walk off, and everybody else is there, like just either walking with their laptops open or like unable
yeah,
to move yet because they're in the middle of doing something. It's like you're watching your laptop, like you're not doing the thing, but yet you can't even walk off from it. Like this is nuts. Like it doesn't make sense,
yeah.
but
Just
yeah.
continue to be tethered by it. Do you know it was funny? I was thinking about you because I saw this meme the other day on Twitter, and it was like the number of screens that you have like directly correlates to your importance inside the organization. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's like the dual monitor is basically
Yeah.
like the pleb class inside the business, and then works its way up right to the just the smartphone, and the smartphone is basically like I'm the CEO. I'm just running the business from the smartphone, and
Okay,
I was
so the
like, that's a
less, is it almost
the
like the
fewer
less screens, the
screens, the more
better?
important
Yeah.
you are. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
and
I
it
mean,
was like a
ideally, you
great
want
proxy
somebody
for
else
something like
using a
Wingman.
phone.
Yeah, well, like, there should be someone else that you can communicate to, and I was just like, oh, that's a great proxy for Wingman because you really just should be able to go about your business every day, but just be able to be in contact with
Yeah.
your Mac Mini employees via the phone.
But what I want is every half when I have an idea, I can have like a butler walk up to me with one of those old-fashioned like telephones, and I can just pick up the receiver and just talk my idea into it for five
That's
minutes, and
it.
then put it down and
Yeah.
send away the butler again. It's like, my work here is done. Go
That's it.
build.
But it's also importantly that like moment of inspiration is important to actually
Mm,
get the idea out of your head
yeah,
rather than like being distracted, having other meetings or having to do other things first. And then by the time you actually go, do you know what? That was a good idea. Let me think about that now and
mm,
extract it. Like the inspiration can be gone. The substance of it can be lost. So I kind of feel like that's the beauty of it is you can strike while the iron's hot. You can get
yeah.
that idea out and actually get some progress on it
Yeah,
pretty
and
much straight
I
away.
think I can make that better as well. Because at the moment, I can just, I can pull up a Wingman session and talk to it. But there's a bit of like, a new session, like which particular recipe do I want, and then like setting it all up, and then
Yeah.
going through the discussion period or just passing it in. Whereas I feel like just a better way to do this would maybe just be have. So I built into this like over the last week a system of triggers. So instead of like having to talk to Wingman through the chat, I can just hit an endpoint with a set of data and it'll start a new session for me with a particular like recipe and system prompts and tools and everything. And then it'll just work through that recipe until it's done. And then it'll close
Yeah.
itself down. And I was like, okay, that's pretty good. But I've also got like looking at like a trigger for file systems. So I can just dump a file in there and then have a bunch of stuff happen. And I thought, okay, well, I think what I might do, maybe this could be a demo for next week, would be like I want to just record directly the thing into my phone as I'm walking around, and then hit the button, like maybe use something like sync thing to ping it back to the machine over here. And then as soon as that file appears, I'll transcribe the file. So, I've got a Whisper server running on there. So I can just run through a transcript of like a 10, 20, 30 minute file, which would be awkward to do that into
Mm.
Wingman at the moment. And then I could have a
Yeah.
preset recipe, which then kicks off, like it'll name all the stuff, build out the product documentation in Obsidian, and then create the code areas for me, and then write up, like, for the product and the initial feature spec that I want, and then do a first pass of that and put it in like a feature branch in Git, which is just like
Mm.
bullshit draft feature or something.
Yep.
And it'd be like, all right, I might never merge it, but I'd like to be able to come back from my walk with an app that's done.
Yeah.
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 I think that'll also make a
I
good
think,
like podcast processing pipeline as well. So it can just go,
yeah,
oh,
completely.
Wingman, just take care of it and put it on the internet for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
No, I like it. I mean, I think the other aspect of this that I was thinking about was like voice versus typing,
mm.
as like a mechanism to best support ideation. Because I was like, you kind of can't replicate speed of thought when you're just like speaking to other
Yeah.
people. So whereas like often I'll find when I'm typing something, I'll stop and like take note of syntax and punctuation and spelling errors and stuff, not necessarily to correct them, but they'll just be there to distract me because
Mm,
I'll notice them. And that will often like just extract me out of this, like, this deep thought process that I'm otherwise in. And whereas if I can just speak the idea into existence, I
yeah.
just find that that freedom of thought is much more fluid. I'm able to like express the idea very cleanly, and there are fewer distractions.
Yeah. I was
So I
like
think
one of
like there's
the,
almost like some synthesizing that needs to occur though, like where because you might almost double back on the idea a little bit when you start talking about it and then go off in a different direction. And you kind of need it to find a way to go, okay, like how do we synthesize this idea down to its nucleus? Like what are we actually trying to do here?
mm,
And yeah, I think that's like the interesting part of a voice. It's like, can you achieve that? Or is it just a block of text that you then need to go and work your way through again?
yeah. So there is so there's a guy here that I was showing him like how I use Obsidian in the background for all the documentation and stuff like this, and he
Mm.
is now building like an Obsidian plugin, I believe, to do audio annotations to notes. So the
Oh,
idea
nice.
is like, so he's got like a half version of this working already. I'll be stealing this, which is like, so
Yeah.
you would have like a design document that could be, let's say it's like 5, 6 pages long, and so instead
Yeah.
of like sitting in there, like, in the office and going through it, you can just be on the beach. And he's there. We've got the same daylight tablet thing that I've got. And it was just like, yeah, I can just
Yes.
scroll through and I go to this bit. And then as I'm like reading through the document, I can just hit this and go give an audio note on what I like and what I don't like about this section. And that gets like attached as a comment. And then when you finish reviewing the thing, you hit a button, it goes away, gets transcribed, and then sent somewhere. And as soon as like, all right, well, then I can just
Yeah.
use that and then just ping this endpoint, and then that starts a new Wingman session, and it just updates all the documentation for me. So it's
Ooh, that's
so a lot of
nice.
this.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I did in the last couple of weeks with Wingman was just to get all the pieces in place. And so I think as soon
Hmm.
as you've got sort of concurrency of the sessions, and you've got like the different MCP tools, and you've got the different recipes that you can call on demand, and then you have the triggers, and there's another bit called return to base, which is how do I finish a session? So how do I either at the end of a session make sure I write to a file system or hit an endpoint and then close down the
Hmm.
session. And as soon as I've got the trigger and the return to base component, it more or less gives you everything you need to just yeah, just chain these things together into whatever process that you want. And
Yeah.
it can be quite loosely coupled as well. So you could have one recipe that makes a decision, and then based on the decision that it makes, that then can trigger either path A or path B with a different set of agents. So it almost like, we talked a lot about like process engineering and um,
Hmm.
automation. Like, I actually think this sort of wingman type model is going to be a good UI for like how you would actually deliver that inside business.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, completely.
I'm enjoying. I need to like get down a bit of brass tacks and building out the different recipes. Like actually have now like two new scheduled tasks as well. So again, as soon as you have
Mm,
triggers, I can trigger them however I want. So I just used like there's now like a little cron scheduler that runs inside Wingman as well. And so every morning at 8:21, it will fire up, create a new session. I haven't actually checked to see what
yep.
he gave me today, and it'll review like all of my like file system to see what's changed recently. It'll go through my
Mhm.
Obsidian documents and say, okay, well, what's Pete been working on? And then it will write me a to-do list of like the top 5 things that I need to get done, and then
Nice.
reasons for it and anything that I've left hanging. So it'll do things like say, all right, there's a feature in here called critical security reviews that you haven't done on Fat Controller or something. Like you really need to do that, and I'll be like, oh yeah, yeah, that I remember doing that analysis and thinking that didn't
Yeah.
seem like fun, and then just not doing it. But I should finish that off.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a kind of a perfect personal assistant in that
Yeah.
respect. And the
Well,
accountability partner that we kind of need. We talked about that a
mm,
couple of episodes ago.
well, that's it. Because I mean, I think this can you can abstract away that whole to-do list into just
Mhm.
um, yeah, into it, like it can just be housed inside the agent. You say, okay, well, what is on my to-do list, or it can just manage like a single Obsidian file with a to-do list. Like just
Yeah.
all these things where you used to have a good UI for it, you'd be like, nah,
Yeah.
okay, here's a sheet of paper. Like you just if I don't have to write and rewrite and keep up to date this sheet of paper, then that's fine. We just put it there. Like that's the to-do
Yeah.
list, and you just
I
manage
think
it every day.
that's like I think one of the kind of philosophies that's emerging for me now is that you kind of almost want to build as lightweight as possible. Like you still want to have
Mm,
a punchy bit of software, but like how lightweight is is the actual package. Like I don't want to have to just sit
mm,
and work through a bunch of different features and processes on screen. A lot of like UI UX and I don't know. I feel like you can actually deconstruct and remove all the complexity out of a lot of these things when you just think about it through the lens of how lightweight can I get this?
mm.
And I mean,
I
that's the process I've been going through this week with the screen recorder. Because I've just been like, the first couple of days of the week, I was just like, do you know what? I feel like I've got like 7 or 8 different ideas that I'm
mm,
starting to build out. And I've got like, basically at design stage for like 4 of them. And the question in the back of my mind is like, okay, which one do I want to spend time on? Like, fuck it. No, what I need to do is actually complete one of these. I just need to go as deep as possible and just get this thing out
mm,
working so I can use it. And I just went back to the screen recorder because I'm like, well, the whole point of me doing this was to basically have a mechanism to share more content, to share
mm,
what we're building. And yeah, part of the animus for me there was like, how lightweight can I make this thing? Everything that it does currently is what Screen Studio does, but it runs entirely out of my toolbar.
mm,
And I just don't need this kind of like bloated UX to be able to run through it on my screen and have to manually edit stuff. And I'm sure Screen Studio does a lot of the stuff really well. Like it is a nice tool. Don't want to denigrate it in any way. It has been inspiration for this, but yeah, I keep coming back to like how simple can I make the interface? How much complexity can I just pull out of this process? And I
mm.
think like all software could probably be like this going forward.
Well, it does start to get to the point where it makes sense in some ways to just build
Mm.
just the little thing that you need because you can get
That
it
you
done
need.
so
Yeah.
quickly. I mean, even showing a bunch of people Wingman, they were like, "Oh, I really like this." Like, there's a bunch of stuff in here that there's like I probably won't use this, but I will
Yeah.
steal heavily from what you thought about here and build my own version. And I think particularly
Yeah.
like with people's development environments and stuff like that, right? Everybody has their setup, and people spend a lot of time customizing how they like to do stuff. So I'm not massively surprised. I
Yeah.
think it makes sense to just
I think it
take
makes a lot of sense.
inspiration
Yeah.
and build your own. Or I'm a fan though, like just being able to like whip it out your pocket and just move it along. Or I had
Yeah.
when I was first doing this Noster stuff, like I think I specified it over coffee, sat on the couch by the window, and like just
Yeah.
staring out the window. And then, like, once it had done specifying, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go for a walk. Before I go for a walk, I'll just kick off Claude Code." And like, so I jumped into the deep dive on Wingman and
Yeah.
pulled up a new like work tree in Claude Code, all from my phone. Like, it's just like
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
Claude Code going and so pasted in the link to the Obsidian doc, and I was like, go build. And then
Yeah.
just walked out the door. And then every now and again, I just pull it up and hit number two that just says, yes, you can do that, and then never ask me again. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I need to figure out what the flag is so I can just, it doesn't even ask me. It's like,
Yeah.
it's tricky because there's certain times where you're like, no, no, I want to just, I need to shout at you here because you're doing exactly the wrong thing. And like, I can see that you're just making
Yeah.
shit up or stuff. So it is useful to get it to pause every now and again. But I mean, I do
Yeah. It
like
will,
the segregated computer is turning out to be a big
I
win
was
as
going to ask.
well. Because,
Mm,
well, just because if nothing else, you have a lot of stuff on your laptop that you just
yeah.
don't really need Anthropic or OpenAI or whoever to be aware of. Like it's just like this
Yeah.
is yeah, your main work computer and your phone and whatnot are very like personal environments that you keep a lot of stuff in. And so and you realize like particularly when you're coding with these things, like how goddamn easy it is for these agents to
Mm,
just exfiltrate anything they want off your machine. It's just like,
yeah.
God, like all these different ways I can potentially lock stuff down. But like if I'm, you know, if I'm giving you permission to run and execute code, then it's kind of hard to do much here.
Yeah.
So there's a few techniques around like more lightweight containerized setups and stuff that people are looking at over here
Mm,
as well, which is going to be quite useful for running this stuff. So it's a bit, it's one of those things that's a little bit out of my pay grade, but there's other people that are focused on that. So I'm like, okay, yeah,
yeah.
you guys figure that out. I'll do this. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a big thing that's really like got me. So going back to the schedule that I've got for my like daily to-do list, I've also got
Mm,
my first overnight job. So we've talked about this one previously as well, which
yeah.
you know, like there's 8 hours a day where I can be doing like crazy nuts vibe coding. That means there's like 16 hours a day that Wingman could just be cleaning up after me. Just going like and like saying,
Yeah.
all right, you've made a bit of a mess here. All the documents are out of date. Let's go and fix them. And so one of my first things I introduced yesterday and should have run last night, so I should probably pull up Wingman and just see if there's a session for this. But it was I took there's a good like computing like developer blog called the Grug Brain Developer.
Yeah.
So this is actually you know No Solutions.
Yeah.
You know the little Grug Brain guy that they've got on there. That picture is actually from Grug Brain Developer.
I
So they're
can't
like,
remember if we talked about this on the last episode or if we talked about it offline, but I feel like
oh,
we
maybe.
we
Oh, who
talked about it
cares? Like,
recently.
you know, like
Yeah, it's all right. It's all
everybody's
right. We can
finished
talk. It was,
listening by this point. We're more than like
it's
5 seconds
glorious.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd taken like the whole Grug Brain developer blog, like boiled it
Yeah.
down into a set of system prompts. And then I
Yeah. It's
used
brilliant.
that overnight. Yeah, maybe we did talk about this, but now I have it as like an overnight security review job where
Oh,
like
that's nice.
Grug's job is to identify like all of the file changes in the code bases over the last like 24 hours and then review them for security and complexity concerns. And then he'll output to me like a set of issues to look at to tell me like, okay,
Yeah.
well, you know, this one a little bit complex. You like introduce this thing that's not going to work, and like, okay, there's a big security concern here. And I was like, okay, this feels like again, it's that good housekeeping of like, how do I introduce a better
Yeah.
process here? So again, I think another big win of this like next few weeks is just going to be being around people that really understand how this stuff works,
Mm,
so I
yeah.
can get a bit better
Well,
at
this
it.
is also like the big counter movement to vibe coding is always around like poorly thought
Hmm.
through security, plenty of like vulnerabilities in the code that no one knows how to identify and how to mitigate. And so like there tends to just be this like this movement against vibe coding on that basis. And there's probably a lot of truth to a lot of this stuff as well. Like I know I try to go through this doing code reviews as much as possible
Hmm.
to identify this stuff, but I definitely know I wouldn't be able to spot all of these things with my own eyes. So, but it is just a discipline to actually just have the systems in place to try and search for this stuff on a regular basis
Yeah.
and plug those holes.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And because you've got so much. I mean, this is the beauty of it being automated, right? Is that then you have almost an unlimited amount of
Mm.
time to just run all these things. Like you
Yeah,
could pay extra money and just run, 400 of these things in parallel at the end of every day. Like why? Like, people over here have got like better like continuous integration and testing environments. So I'm gonna sort of lean into that a little bit and figure out, okay, how can I make this like spawn? But I mean,
yeah,
even just having like that really good personal assistant though that will update, they update your to-do list, but they can also just clean up all your documentation and they can,
exactly.
find all of those loose ends that you started and then everything just looks a bit messy still. And it's like, no, just go clean it up every night. Just chip away at it and just make sure that when I arrive in the morning, I would like everything to be
Yeah,
perfect and ready for me to just pick up, like, have the butler come along and I can pick up my phone and just talk into it. So, I mean, yeah, like there's
well,
so
it's like
much.
having the remote worker overseas.
Yeah. Yeah, and
You know,
it
you
is.
go to bed, and when you wake up, the job's done. It's perfect.
Hmm. There is an interesting dichotomy here as well, where there's people that are just like, I don't know if I can justify spending any money on that, and I don't know if I spend on that. And then there's a few of us that are just like, blah, I just
Yeah,
throw money at this because it's so valuable. Like I'm sure if there was a version of this that was like $1,000 a month, I'd probably be able to get enough
you'd
value
still
out of
do it.
that to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
But it's just,
Well, this
yeah.
is like Jevons paradox, right? I mean, it's just like there's so many new things that it unlocks
Mm,
that you couldn't otherwise have achieved before. And so
yep.
if you think about like the things that you had to do before from like through the lens of what price it is per month, then you're like, oh, hard to justify the value. But when you account for all of the things that you couldn't previously do that you now can, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, well, I feel like it comes down to like it's something that feels like an expensive SaaS, but really it's a
Mm.
cheap worker.
Yeah.
Like if you're spending like
Yeah.
$100 a month on a SaaS subscription, you're like, oh God, that'd add up pretty quick. I can't do that. It's a waste. But if you said, all right, we can hire somebody for $100 a month, you'd be like, yeah, sounds
Exactly.
sounds excellent. And then it turns out you
Done.
can throw all sorts of jobs at them. I think the only thing that's really missing is that tool set for like, okay, well, how do I set up all of these jobs and actually
Mm.
have them execute in their own way? But like
Yeah. So you
that's
can actually step away from it as well.
yeah. And so I mean that's where I'm trying to do a lot more of that, just personally for myself, inside Wingman
Mm.
now. So that I've got my one place where everything runs. So it's but yeah, I'm happy. I think it
So you're
like again.
using like you're using Claude code more now than Goose. Like I think previously you'd been playing around with Goose a lot more as well. Like what's the thinking there?
So the split is I use both all the time. It's basically the answer,
Yeah, okay.
the quick answer. But the way it comes out is that Claude Code is by far the best coding model. And again, like
Mm-hmm.
this seems to be pretty common amongst most people I talk to here as well. Is that like this thing is just excellent at coding. It knows what it's
Yeah,
doing. It's very quick. It can deliver stuff really well. Like it's probably the best model agent wise, probably the best agent as well. But it just wants to code. It has what we would
yeah.
term the dog with two dicks problem. You
Mm-hmm.
just you can't hold the thing back. Like, you might say like, "Oh, I'm thinking of making this and like, maybe we should do a plan." And he's like, "What? What? I've already built it. I've built it twice. Like, I've given you here's some PRs." Like, what? Like it's like, hang on a minute, I haven't got the fucking idea out of my head yet. Never mind, thought about how we're gonna do it. And he's like, "No, no, I've had another go. I've had another go. Now it's yellow." Like, just fucking stop. Like, I deleted everything and we've done it again. It's like, it's fucking hell. But like, given a good plan and like a tight scope, it will build that and it builds it
Yeah,
successfully very well. It's got, like, particularly in the last few weeks, it's got a lot better seemingly at actually running the environments themselves and testing it inside its own flow and stuff like that. So I really can't justify doing the coding outside of Claude Code at the moment. I have done
Mm,
some like more direct changes via like Goose
mhm,
directly as well. But then what I use Goose for is my general agent. So Claude Code
mhm.
just wants to code. It doesn't want to think. It doesn't seem like it wants to write. It doesn't feel like
Yeah.
it wants to do anything else. I'll still often use the Claude's like Sonnet model via Goose, but I use the Goose agent loop to then do the thinking behind, like, okay, well, I've got to set tasks that I want to do, or I need to review this documentation, or I need to update this documentation. So a lot of my planning and thinking is actually done via the Goose agent. And there
Mhm,
is another one called Open Code. So shown the other day that looks kind of promising. So similar to Goose, it's all open source. So I might have a look into that as well and see how easy that is to integrate. But I think I like Goose as that general purpose agent because it just means I don't have to write my own agent
mm,
loop for that. I can just lean on that. It works pretty well. It gives me simple access to integrate like all the recipes and the
mhm,
MCP tools, so all that works. It seems to be pretty good at selecting them. So I'm fairly happy with the way Goose runs for that. But yeah, it really is
mhm.
like the two mindsets. So I mean, as we talked about a bunch, there's as
Yeah.
Gigi had said, right? Like you have Hemingway's write drunk, edit sober. It's like
Yeah.
so my editing sober is Goose and my drunk writing is Claude.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
and like the way I interact with them through Wingman is that you've got these like two interfaces where the main interface is just like a chat with Wingman. And then I read obviously all the documentation inside Obsidian. And then when I'm working with Claude, I just like use the terminal emulation like directly from the phone. And so I actually like just pull up the direct terminal session. So I can do like
Mhm,
whatever I want from wherever just via that terminal. But like that whole environment is just, it's a different color, it's a different mind space. Like
mm.
Wingman Goose is
Yeah.
all
Nice.
very like, I mean, there's a dark mode, but it's in like the light mode. And then when I go into the terminal, it's dark mode and it's like, gritty and just
Yeah.
get stuff done and just move it along. And I'm just sort of pushing it through the process in there. Whereas I do all of the thinking and the other stuff inside like the light mode Wingman space as well. And
Mm,
increasingly, I do think that is like this is like where we need to be focusing some of this tool development, particularly for this like AI human interaction is like
yeah.
you really just can't like watch these things. Like it's just like
Yeah.
it's just the wrong, like I mean like some people will like because they know how to code and they don't trust it, and I get that.
Yeah.
Luckily I bad code like I just never really had to. I'm used to like managing coders though and not seeing what they're doing, and only ever really seeing the PRs or only ever really seeing like the outputs and the testing level. So it feels very natural to me to interact with agents in this way, in a way that I think a lot of
Mm,
developers don't. But but you really need to think about like where you get that documentation back. So one of the things I mentioned over the course of the day was like I don't like Slack, for instance. I think
mhm.
real-time messaging is like one of the worst things that we've done in business in the
Yeah.
last sort of 10 years. It's not obviously so, but it's such a head fuck to like your working environment. It's everything is like just fucking now, now, now. And then as soon as you've like gone to sleep and come back to something, like you don't know where
Yeah.
any of that stuff is. There's no structure to any of these things. Like it works like in the moment, but
Mm,
as soon as you're out of the moment, nothing works. And that we've really like replicated this with
mm.
like the chat interface for LLMs. Like, I mean, the chat interface makes sense in the sense of like, I'm going to give you an order. I need somewhere to put it. It should probably
Yeah.
be like like a history of what we've talked about. So it makes sense there, but it shouldn't be
Mm,
like where we present stuff and where we keep stuff inside chats. Like
yeah.
it's like no, I want the chats to sort of go away like as they finish, but I but we should have some structure. Like I shouldn't need to go and try and figure out which chat I asked you a question in so I can look at a document. The document should just be in the right place. And I'm like, it's like I don't even like, go into this effort of trying to figure out which Slack channel something's in for humans. Never mind a fucking
Yeah,
robot. It's like, I'm not going to talk to fucking robots in Slack. I want the
yeah,
robots to give me nice documents on a plate and serve them to me as I sit in my armchair. It's like, come on, guys. Like, if we're going to have robot labor, why are we going to these
yeah.
great lengths to make it easy for them?
I feel like it's like a classic example of just adding needless friction into like a working environment. Like
Mm.
I kind of get it. You want more communications, but like, I guess for the way the paradigm I would view this through is like you working on the business or in the business, and like
Mm.
what's the important part of that equation? And the
Yeah.
answer is probably like it's some balance. But most businesses don't actually, most people within businesses don't ever actually get the chance to work on the business because they're constantly in it. And I
Mm.
feel like tools like Slack keep us working in it
Mm.
because they're just always on, they're always taking up our attention. They kind of tend to push like the status games and like the
Mhm.
bureaucracy. All of the worst parts of the organization tend to manifest in those environments as well. So then they
Yeah.
don't actually make us like better at the bits that we need to be better at in order to actually help the business improve or grow or get better in
Yeah.
some meaningful way. So I always find that is like the reason why I wouldn't go near it. But also like there's this inspiration perspiration element to it as well. It's like where are the ideas coming from?
Mm.
You know, like they almost never happen when you're like stuck in the terminal responding to people's text messages and replying to emails and like I just don't feel like that's the environment for inspiration. Like that's the state of perspiration where you need to get shit done. And I get
Yeah.
it. But when you actually want to move the puck forwards, it's like, well, yeah, we need to actually get some really good ideas. And that's when you need to actually like take a step out of the environment and have a bunch of lateral experiences and go and have a bunch of conversations that are like kind of undefined and like it's like allowing the space for those things to occur. And when you've got tools like Slack, they almost like force you back into those perspiration states to the
Mm.
detriment of the entire business. It's kind of the way I think about those.
Yeah. Like
But the
it's,
same, yeah,
I mean, I feel like it's evolved for me, right? Because I've obviously, when we first started playing with a lot of this stuff, I felt like it was quite natural to just build
mm,
versions of this into, like, initially we did Discord and then we did Slack, and then
yeah,
obviously I put it in various different places. And I almost feel like you want to be able to like give the order from anywhere, for like for
mm,
better term,
yeah,
but it it shouldn't be. I don't know. I just don't. It's the outputs I don't like. I like the chat channels for the case of like, oh, I need to get you a message. It's just, I
yeah,
really hate that feeling that I need to recall a chat in order to figure out where the response was. It's like the response
yes,
needs to be somewhere that makes sense, that I can find it whenever. In the way that, like, like if I go back 20 years to starting projects with Rolls-Royce like back in the day, and we would like you would have to go and set up your shared file system, and it would all be in a particular way, in a particular style, and it all made sense, and anybody from anywhere else in the business could come along,
yeah,
and you would just go, okay, well, here's where all the risks are, and I know where they are because that's where they live, and we have those like conventions and standards. So like all that stuff
mm,
just got like shat down the toilet in the last sort of 10 years, and
yeah,
just everything's just like in Slack, and you
yeah,
have to just constantly like chase people to figure out versions and shit because like nothing's being managed in the
yeah,
sensible way anymore. We just like, no, 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 I just made a new version and then stuck it in Slack. It's in the channel. And it's like, yeah, but the channel is just fucking dross. Like, what's going
yeah.
on? Like,
That's it.
don't
I'm not
make
going to
me
search through
interactive.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But as I
I
said, like,
mean, like you kind of get this with like with language models as well. Like if you take Claude, for instance, like I don't
mm,
know, I can't go back through previous chats to try and find something. It's just impossible. And so like
no,
my
yeah,
practice is just to write anything valuable into Obsidian.
yeah,
And like I have a set of conventions to make it easy for me to find.
yeah,
And that just works.
Yeah,
Like
that
just
was such a big unlock. Like when I started doing that, I was
yeah,
like, oh wow, this is. It's like don't ever build. Like so I used to love the artifacts thing in Claude in the way that it looked.
mm,
It was like, oh yeah, this is way
yeah,
nicer than having it just like as an output inside the chat. But then still, I was like, yeah, same problem. It's just like I constantly trying to get what was I talking about in that
yeah,
chat? Is this the chat? And then invariably, you've had like 100 chats about the same subject. It's like, all right, so I just need to click into every one of them and then figure out like where in this fucking
yeah.
stream of
So
text the thing
it's
is.
impossible.
It's you just can't
And
find
chats
shit.
evolve as well. You know, like
Yeah,
you might have started out talking about one thing and you've ended up talking about something else, and it's like it's a complete nightmare. So yeah,
yeah,
I will like routinely just compartmentalize points that I'm like, oh, this what we've just talked about the last like 5 or 6 messages, just summarize and write it to my Obsidian, and yeah, that just works for me. And I've got a filing system now. I know where to find everything, and yeah, it is just such a huge unlock
yeah.
because there's so much friction in that process of having to go back and try and search through old information to try and find the bit that you vaguely remember you need in a particular moment.
Yes, I agree. It's fucking annoying.
So what I was going to ask you, just on the topic of Wingman as well, like
Mhm.
what I'm curious about is the interplay between Goose and Claude Code in that environment. Like one of the things I've been finding a lot working with Claude Code is I'll just find it will get stuck in loops, like especially as the like code base matures, and that forces me to step out of whatever we're doing and almost like go back into planning and ideation mode to go like, okay, like what is the issue I'm having here? Why can we not solve this problem? Let's try and like build out like some sort of like implementation markdown file that just
Mm.
helps us like work through like staged fixes to work this out. Otherwise, it feels like you get into a loop of like ad hoc fixes that Claude Code will just go and bash through, and then it will like undo something it did like in a previous state. And but I find that like instance shift to like back to ideation mode is quite handy, and I find myself doing that a lot now. It's like I'll start
Mm.
off a project with ideation, I'll have the design docs, and then partway through coding, I'll almost like revert back to that process and go, what have we done? What are the blockers that I'm running into here? How has this like evolved over the course of like the last piece of implementation and step out? And yeah, I'm kind of curious like how that would work in something like Wingman, where you
Yeah,
could like potentially have to step between the two models.
so I was, it's this is kind of interesting. We are talking about a similar thing, whilst sipping beers overlooking the ocean yesterday from top of a mountain.
Sounds terrible. Yeah.
Like you got to set the scene. Um, like so, I there's a few points. Like one is that I think that usually when I get into that problem of like, hang on a minute, Claude Code's just gone off on one here, and it's not
Mm.
really delivering what I need to, and I feel like I'm entering this loop of just debugging and rebugging something that
Yeah.
it's just fucked up. Um, it's usually that like I've tried to go full YOLO too quick. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I've kind of
Yeah.
like YOLO'd the spec, and then it's just the scope of what I'm trying to build is actually very large, and it's trying to one
Mm.
shot it. And what I haven't
Yeah.
done is adequately build it piece by piece. Like, and I
Mhm.
find that if I go and it's what usually happens is like you start off building stuff. I'll start off building stuff piece by piece, and it's going really well. It's going really well. It's going really well. And then I'll go, oh, maybe I'll just do like a slightly bigger thing. I'll do a bigger thing. I'll do a bigger thing, and they all work and work and work until they just don't, and the scope of what I'm doing is too big. Or I've worked on a project where I've built it up like piece by piece to the point where I'm
Mm.
now doing bigger changes, and it's able to just slot them in. And then I'll start a new project and I just go, let's build this. And then like it'll build me a full spec and I'll be like, it's probably close enough. Just bang,
Yeah.
go build it. And then I realized like one of the things yesterday, I was just like, you just like the whole point of this is to prove this like one thing. And what you've done is you've just hard coded something else. So this whole thing
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
pointless. Like what the fuck? And I was like, all right, I need to step back, and this is a me problem. It's a me trying to push the thing too quick. In that I've not properly built out the spec and the plan in a way where we're just doing it piece by piece. I'm just trying to quickly YOLO it because I'm feeling a bit tired. And I was like, okay, well, I should go back and redo that. In terms of like the interplay between Goose and like Claude Code, there's no like tightly coupled thing going on here. Like it really is that Goose writes the planning docs. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
restrict it in a way where it can only read the file system. It can't write to the file system, but it can write into Obsidian. And then Claude can
Hmm.
obviously do whatever it wants inside its coding directory, but it can also read all the specs from Obsidian. And so, like, that's the
Hmm.
handoff is like the document that's in there. So usually what I would do is I'd make sure that when I run Claude Code, I run it in like a separate feature branch. So I borrowed from mate Justin some like an approach of using like different terminal sessions in Tmux with Git work trees so that I can have multiple versions of this running in different areas, and everything's nicely segregated inside that work tree and that feature branch so that I can just blow it away. And I
Yeah.
think the best, like if you sometimes you hit a bug and you can just push it forwards and just get a bit detailed with Claude and it resolves. Like I think what I was doing like last night was one of those situations where I was like, you know what, this isn't going to resolve how I want it to. So what I need to
Hmm.
do is I need to get Claude, and the way I usually resolve it, so I go, right, this feature branch is dead. Like this is not going anywhere. Instead,
Yeah.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to start again. So I want you to then take everything that we've built so far and almost like summarize it as a document of like what are all the different components that we've built and how have we gone about building them. And then I'll take
Hmm.
that markdown back into like Obsidian or something and just edit it down to say, okay, well, I'm going to rebuild it, but I'm going to do it in these stages as we go. And I'm going to put these tests in place. And I'll just sort of then, as a human, go back over that plan and just try and like make it a little bit more sensible so it goes a bit better.
Yeah.
So, and again, like there's nothing there that strikes me that you couldn't have better automations for that. But I think it's one of those things where it doesn't happen enough
Mm.
yet that I've got enough impetus and data to then automate it. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's sort of the way I approach it at the moment. But I really
Yeah.
do
I did
think I
run
need to
into
get
this.
better tools to build the plan and then
Mm.
potentially a better way of I almost like instead of like just giving Claude the document. Like I think I increasingly think it's really important to just constrain that
Yeah.
first prompt. It's like I almost want like I don't know, a just one prompt MCP or something where I can like call this
Hmm.
with like all the data and it condenses it down into okay, here's the best prompt to build just this feature sort of thing. And then that goes to Claude.
Yeah.
And I have a way of handing that off instead of because it's almost like a bit lazy of me to go, okay, here's like 10 documents of lots of detail, but then you're kind of hoping that it reads that properly. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. It's way better if
Hmm.
it's, like one core page of what it needs to build. So that's probably the way to go about it. But sorry,
True.
you get
Yeah. No, no, I was just going to say, like, I kind of ran into this issue yesterday, and I think I hit my rate limit with Claude Code because it was just going around in circles
Mm,
trying to fix a bug, and I still have my Cursor subscription, so I was like, oh, like I'm just going to fire up Cursor,
mm,
and I actually got like Grok 4, like the thinking model, to do root cause analysis on it. So
mm,
I just basically like gave a description in the prompt of like what I thought was going on with this particular bug, like the thing that we're trying to build out, and then it did like a root cause analysis and basically like listed out a bunch of fixes um, with probability stack next to it. And the number one, like high priority one, was it just pulled out a bit of the code which was hard coded by Claude Code, and I was just like, is that why like Claude Code just wasn't seeing this and wasn't able to pick up on it
It
because
probably
it had
like
just hard coded that to get it done and move on to the next bit.
it's an
And
absolute cunt for just hard coding shit and not telling you.
yeah,
Like,
and not
it's
to,
like,
exactly. Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're like,
Well, it
why? I
was just
keep
an
changing these variables and like nothing's happening. Like, why is this? And then it's like, oh yeah, mate, boss, chief, I hard coded that about 6 weeks ago. And you're like,
yeah,
what the fuck? Yeah,
yeah.
you got to test
You're
it.
absolutely right. Let me fix this. It's
Well, and
just
I think
yeah, it
like
was
that's
crazy.
where when you pull it out into Grok and you give it like a different personality of doing like the root cause sort of
Yeah,
thing is like, I mean, that's the beauty of it. It's like these things can just be many different
mm,
personalities and then
yeah,
take different ways of looking at it. But like this would be an excellent like job to just run, on the hour or something and just be like, okay,
yeah.
just run in the background every hour, look at everything that's changed on here and tell me if there's any hard codings and just give
Exactly.
me an audit of current hard codings in the system. And
Hmm.
then if there's anything on that list, then maybe you fire up another session afterwards that just goes and removes it. or
Yeah.
or you
I mean, that's a
just
great idea.
yeah. There's stuff
I mean,
like
I'd
that.
even like just have a sub agent in
Mm,
Claude Code just looking for that stuff. Like that would be
yeah.
a pretty straightforward way of doing it. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that got me thinking about that interplay between
Mm,
Claude Code and Goose. And I was like, I wonder if it could basically take on that function where you could just step out and do like root cause analysis if you find just not able to bash through a particular problem with
mm.
Claude Code.
Well, maybe I mean, even like, as I said, like that. Because hard coding shit is annoying. Like maybe it's worth doing that. Where I could
Hmm.
just run that in the background like 2 or 3 times a day and just get
Yeah,
an output that just tells me like, okay, well, what is there something that's hard coded? If so, send me a notification to my phone
yeah,
and it'll just pop up and I go, ah, okay, I see what
hmm,
we've done there, and I'll just then dive in and fix it and just see if it's a problem. But like that sort of
yeah,
stuff of just like a completely different personality AI that comes in that's not trying to build, but is trying to like
hmm,
attack or is trying to like hack your
yeah,
system or is trying to like look for security vulnerabilities. Like these could always just be running constantly just over your code base, just looking for all of those issues. And it would just keep Claude honest in a way that like again,
hmm,
it's like when you're trying to like watch it code or if somebody is hacking your system and they're using like AIs and scripts and sort of things to do it, you can't respond to it as a human because you just can't type fast enough. Like you can't execute commands as
hmm,
fast as these things can. So you almost need that other set of AIs that are then defending against this stuff. So you can go,
yeah,
okay, Claude, you've got authority to go and do this, and you guys, you've got read authority, and you're going to run like every hour and you're going to just check what the changes have been made and you're going to give me constant updates on this, and then that's how I'll
yeah,
know that I'm not stepping out of line. I've not just like
hmm,
even just having like somebody looking over your shoulder like once a day saying like, yeah, you've created a new project here and you haven't got a git ignore file and now you've just leaked all your API keys. It's like, oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I need
yeah.
to be careful of that.
Rookie mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
I think that's it. But I also think, like to your point earlier, like the big lesson I think from all of this for me has been just to spend more time in the design ideation phase and actually
Mm,
like do the work in the design docs. Like I think I actually quite enjoy spending that time in the design docs and reading through them and seeing if it aligns to the actual idea, the vision, and how it's going to map out. And the other bit that I've started doing as well, which is entirely optional, but I actually find it quite useful, is just going and once those design docs are set up in my Obsidian Vault, I'll get Opus 4.1 to just like review it and then
mm,
basically do like a critical analysis of it and go, okay, where does this make sense? Where does it not make sense? Where can we
mm.
flesh this out and add more substance to it? And I found that's like really quite handy. It's a great way to smash through to your rate limit pretty quickly, but it's just a handy step in the process for me. So I quite enjoy that as well. Um, and then yeah, just stepping out of that environment sometimes too, to actually, and I mean by stepping out of the environment, I mean like physically getting away from a computer and not actually doing any work on this thing.
Mm.
And in some weird way, hitting the rate limit forces me to do that. It's like adding friction into the process for me because I'm like, all right, well, I can't really do too much more on this right now. So let
Yeah.
me step away and do something completely different, or I'll go out, go for a walk, go to the beach, grab coffee, and all of a sudden I'll be thinking about the stuff that I've just been building, or I'll have a completely different idea, or it's actually been remarkable. Like I feel like there's been so much more inspiration in the last few weeks.
Mm.
Some of the completely harebrained. Like last week, we've obviously had like a bunch of, like we've had the release of Nano Banana as well, and
Mm.
so that's just been like a like a rabbit hole that I went down as well this week. And it's like I can actually build some pretty cool shit off the back of this
Yeah.
that probably wasn't quite there with GPT's image gen, and definitely isn't there with Midjourney or anything like that yet. And I'm just like, oh, this could
Mm.
be quite a bit of fun. You know, it's probably nothing commercial, but it's a bit of fun.
The only problem is it's a Google API, so you'll never find out where the fuck it is. And that's
That's true.
actually build something useful with it.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been remarkable. Like it's been a lot of fun to just play around with that
Mm.
image gen tool.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think that's been the unlock is I just end up spending more time up front on ideation design, and
Mm.
then I feel like it goes much smoother.
I feel like the bit that I'm probably missing at the moment is just that in between, like the ideation and the design bit, is the like the orchestration and planning piece. I feel like I
Yep.
need a better tool there because there's a lot of like just like, oh, here's some documents, and I think there's something about how to turn a set of documents that fully describe the system into a set of work packages that can be adequately delivered. Because when I do that myself, it works well. But when I YOLO it, I think it's becoming increasingly clear to me that like whilst like the Claude agent could go through and read all those documents, pull it all into context and do stuff, it doesn't. So
Yeah.
and certainly it takes
Yeah.
longer. Like the other aspect of that is it just takes a long time. Like right, someone was saying,
Mm.
like, when you watch these agents run, like they're quick compared to like almost anything else you've ever done. But it
Yeah.
seems kind of weird that it would spend like 5 minutes reading documentation. You're like, oh, that's odd. But it's because it will go like, all right, let's find a file, get the file, send it to the LLM, get it back. Okay, and I've done that. But I've found three more files. So each one of those is now like a sequential get file, send file, get stuff back, get file, send file, get stuff back. Like summarize what I know. And like that
Yeah.
process is like, it's way quicker than a human could read all this stuff. But it's not instant in the way that you're like, well, if all this was just like stack graph, for instance. Like if I've already got all the
Yeah.
code there and I can just pull it out in half a second, and I'm not sending it off to like an LM to reason about it, then I could just go and get all the code in one go and then send it, and then now I'm ready to build. And so I think there is like
Yeah.
a lot to be done around the tooling to make this even a lot better and quicker. But yeah, I do feel like there's a good tool here around. This is one of the things that RuCode did well, because they had their orchestrator where you could drop in a big
Mm.
plan and it turned it into little plans. Like I'm tempted to put maybe like build like an orchestrator into Wingman that would do something like that
Mm.
so that it can kick off Claude Code sessions on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then and it would say like, okay, here's my session. I'm gonna yeah. What I want is a set of like just single documents that are work packages. Maybe I'd just go down that path first. Because then worst case you can just copy paste bang, let's see how this runs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm.
Interesting.
But that
I
that
like the
feels
sound of
like
that.
that's the bit that I mess up on is I don't spend enough time on the sequencing and planning because I'm
Hmm.
like, it's good at planning, like, it's good at doing. I'll just
Yeah.
put the two together.